Welcome to Small Arms Solutions. Today we're going to do some cleaning. For the AR15 M16 weapon series, there is one kit that stands out amongst the rest as being the finest kit in the world, and that is the Otis Msr Ar Kit. The Msr Ar Kit is the most complete and thorough cleaning system that there exists for the M16 series rifle. It has several unique tools to help clean the rifle even better. MSRP is around $69. It comes in a classic hockey puck. It has literally everything that you can imagine. We have chamber brush. We have the picks to get the hard to reach areas, the rods. We have a breech face scraper. We have a brush. We have a bolt lug scraper, patch saver, all-purpose brush, and we have a couple bore brushes. We have a fiber optic for inspecting the barrel as well as a chamber flag. We have a mongoose brush, which has both a patch basically material, a cleaning brush, as well as a wool mop. We have 10 cleaning patches. We have lens maintenance materials, a cleaning cloth, and the other thing we're going to be going over too as well is going to be the Otis Ripcord. So we're going to go over how to use all these products. I'm going to show you how I clean my ARs. I'm quite thorough in doing them. You know, anybody who's been in the military, especially the Army or infantry, realizes how critical it is to keep your weapon clean. And the key to having a functioning weapon is having a clean weapon, and that does not matter whether we're talking about an M16, an M4, an AK, a G36. It doesn't matter. Anything that has mechanical moving parts, you need to maintain. So we're going to jump right into this. Well, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to field strip the rifle. Obviously, the first step is to make sure the weapon is clear, the safety engaged. Pull back the bolt, lock open to the rear. Physically inspect the chamber to make sure we're clear. No brass, no ammo. Push inward on both the rear and front takedown pins. Remove the bolt. Charging handle. We're going to spend our first time talking about cleaning the lower receiver. Lower receiver, mostly we're just going to wipe down a cleaning rod or a cleaning rack. Clean all the carbon off of the trigger mechanism itself. And the one area I want to pay a little bit of attention to is the bolt catch itself. So what I will do is I will take one of the cleaning rods, the male-female end, and my all-purpose brush. I'm going to clean underneath and on the back. Now, you don't often have to remove the buffer. It doesn't usually get all that dirty, but we're just going to do it for sakes of showing. I'll just take the oil and I'll clean that. What we have here is the Valtor A5 buffer assembly. Now, certainly if you want to, you can grab a couple Q-tip, get in the inside. Mostly the 9mm is where you get a lot of filth. 9mm you'll get a lot of unburnt propellants. Made me better off blowing that out with an air compressor if you have access to one, or some canned air. But generally the 5.56 isn't that much of a big deal. The inside of the magazine well. They do have some magazine well brushes. I've never seen them as being necessary, but anybody who wants to buy gadgets is all set with that. Charging handle itself, this happens to be one of the Valtor Gunfighter. This is the part that does actually get dirty, because it's up right where the gas tube is, as you can see. This is something where we'll grab a Q-tip Get in there really good. That's all there is to it. Now we're getting right into the bolt carrier. You can see we got some filth on this one. Wipe it out from the outside first. Now we'll take the roll pin punch. Remove the frame pin retaining pin. Drop out the firing pin. Push in the bolt. Remove the cam pin. Sometimes that needs a little bit of assistance. This is a POF one, they fit in a little bit tight. Remove the bolt. Wipe that down. And then what I'll do is I'm going to take my frame pin retaining pin and I'm going to remove the extractor spring. Extractor simply. Okay, the first part I'm going to pay attention to here is the actual bolt itself. First off, we see this carbon buildup back here. What is the best way to get rid of that? Is the Otis bone tool. Normally you would use an all-purpose brush of some sort. This basically is a carbon scraper. So it goes right on the rear. I don't know if you can visually see, but you can see the carbon just chipping off. You can see we've gone from all that carbon on there to mostly of it being removed. So now we can get around the sides. To get all the residual falling off of there, Otis manufactures a brass all-purpose brush. This works excellent to get rid of nasty carbon. Carbon can be a little tough. You get a little bit on the outside here. This is the actual piston expansion chamber area itself, where you get that. I'm just going to run on the outside of there a little bit as well. And as you can see, looks like new. Looks like no. Now you can see that we have some crud on the breech face itself. What I'm going to do now is grab the breech face scraper. And what this is going to do, all the primer sealants and all that garbage, it's going to take that right off the breech face itself. Next thing, we have our locking lug scraper. This is only really used when it's really fouled. What that does is it gets right in between each locking lug. All I'm going to do is get some of my trusty solvent. interface right there on the insides. And if you do have one of these bronze brushes, it never hurts to scrape there. Now we see we have some crud in these little crevices in here. That's exactly what these picks are for. It's to get all that stuff on those edges you can't really see. To grab a pipe cleaner, we're going to scrub up the inside. As you can see, there is actually a lot of filth that comes out of inside of there. We're going to get inside that cam pin hole. One thing I go through a lot of when I clean is Q-tips. Those are your best tool. Now, do you have to scrub the gun like this? No. I'm just incredibly thorough when I do this. It's just habit. And, you also go out and you spend $1,200 or $1,500 for a rifle. You tend to want to make sure that it's taken care of. And this is really all the bolt really needs. Now we're going to take a look at the extractor itself. The extractor itself is really a good place to use these as well. If you have access to the all-purpose brush. Make a hook out of my pipe cleaner. Get it in there. Clean the inside. Now you want to make sure when you are doing this that the extractor itself has the buffer, the extractor spring, and in this case it has the rubber donut. The rubber donut is a major reliability enhancement. I recommend anybody who has a carbine actually get it. It's just a rubber O-ring that slides over the extractor assembly. That's all there is to it. We can reinstall the extractor. The firing pin itself, I'm going to wipe that down. Sometimes you can get fouling on the face of the firing pin. We have a neat little tool on the bone tool here, which is actually a scraper for that. It works decently, but sometimes when it's rough, the old all-purpose brush rhymes does a really good job. This is a good chrome-plated firing pin, so you don't have to worry about any damage being done. Cam pin, this is actually the POF roller cam, but you clean them the same way. We're going to wipe that down. Clean the inside, which is good. Now's the bolt carrier itself. One of the areas we're going to look at is the area in the back here, which is also where carbon gets. We're going to take our Otis bone tool again. That's going to scrape that now. You can actually see some of the fouling that's coming out of the back. That prevents you from damaging your firing pin and whatnot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a clean pipe cleaner. I want to try to make sure this inside of the carrier key is clean. back over to that solvent. Clean inside the cam track, the bottom. Now I'm just going to grab a slotted tip. I want to get this patch in here as thick as possible. Dip that in solvent. Get in the inside there good and clean. Start wiping down. Get a clean patch. See, quite a bit comes out of that. Another thing we can do is actually take the cleaning rag, stuff that in there, get it nice and tight. Comes out nice and clean. I want to keep that gas tube in there clean as possible. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some CLP. Just put a little on the outside of the bolt, on the gas rings, in place. I still got CLP on my fingers, so we're going to clean up the cam pin. Light film of lubricant on the firing pin. I'm going to drop the firing pin in like so. The firing pin retaining pin. Give it a flick. Now you also want to take it, pound it on the palm of your hand, make sure the firing pin is properly in place. Now we're just going to put a little bit of lubricant on it. This is the extent you want to lubricate. One drop in one port, second port, third port. Couple drops in the key, one in the inside, one in the outside. That's all lubrication that you will need. And you have put a light film of lubrication on the outside just to coat it so there's no rust. And that's all there is to the actual bolt carrier group itself. The next product we're going to go over here is the Otis Ripcord. People like to refer to this as a bore snake. This is not the bore snake. It's a totally different piece of cleaning gear. The bore snake I was not fond of. I found that the actual bristles on the bore snake actually scratched the inside of the bore on a rifle that I was testing. We actually had a bore camera, and we'd run through multiple times, and after not too long we actually saw some scoring in the barrel. So when we did ours, we did not want to have that same thing happen. So what the Ripcord is designed for not cleaning a gun, but it's designed for removing fouling. If you're going to go to the range and you just want to get a quick clean, what this is going to take out of the barrel is just going to be surface, the surface residues. This is actually Kevlar on the inside. You can see how it gets tighter as it goes up. So all we do is we insert that in from the rear or the muzzle, or rear of the chamber, and we pull through breech to muzzle. Pull that right through. Now, if you choose to use this as a cleaning cable, you can. As you see, we have slotted tips on there where you can actually install the slotted tip, or you could actually pull through an actual bore brush. Again, I recommend these for field expedients and cleaning. These are very good for a soldier who may have his muzzle clogged. He might fall, have his muzzle clogged with dirt. Just open the bolt, run this through it once, and your bore's going to be free. This is really good to keep in your pocket when you go hunting, just for that simple fact that if you do fall, you're not going to be out of the hunt. But keep in mind, this is not going to replace using solvent, using a bore brush, and to do a proper cleaning. Again, after you're done at the range, field expedients, run through it in the field. If you're in the desert and in rain or whatever, one pull through this will get you right back in action. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to actually run a wet patch through this. And this is one of the most important things that you're going to learn about the Otis cleaning kit, is how you actually use the patches. The patches are not the same as the ones you just fold in half and stick them through the slot. It's totally different. So we're going to put our slotted tip on the cable. You'll see there's actually 3 different slots in here. We're going to push through one. Then I'm going to go over here, pinch upward, pull through, and now pull down. I have full 360-degree coverage over the brass slotted tip. Now this is brass, so it will not score or damage the barrel no matter how tight it gets in there. This is much softer than the barrel material. Let me get that wet. Insert breech to muzzle. Pull right through. We now have a nice wet breech. Now we're going to let the solvents work. I'm going to take this area now, and I'm going to insert it into the chamber to get the chamber nice and wet. And now I'm going to take this patch off, and I'm just going to wipe down the inside of the receiver. A little harder when you got big fingers. Take the cloth, close this up before it spills on me. Now, the one area I pay particular attention to in the upper receiver is the actual cam track or cam path here, which is this area right in here. Make sure I get that area nice and clean. Now that the barrel is soaked, I want to clean the actual chamber. So to clean the chamber, we assemble the rod. Take both the male and female end. Insert the bore obstruction remover. 5.56 millimeter chamber brush. And we take our handle. Insert that into the chamber. I'll rotate that several times. Pull it out, insert that back in. Pull that out, that's good. Now to clean in the inside, I'm going to take that one that's partially dirty. Take the brush. I'm just going to clean the inside. Now I'm going to get some more Q-tips. Clean the inside. Now that the barrel has got a chance to let the solvent soak into it a little bit, I'm going to install the bore brush. Insert again, breach the muzzle. There's no magic number for this. I generally do it 4 times. Also make sure you don't wear a clean shirt. That's good. Now we're going to insert a patch again. Again, go through one of the slots. Pick that up. Pinch it through. Bring it down. Again, breach the muzzle. You want all the garbage to come out in the same direction that the bullet does. You can see what comes out with just one swipe. Now, what I'm going to do is I can use this same patch up to 6 times. So I'm going to pull that off, I'm going to flip it over, go to another one of the holes, pinch that upward, and go back again. Run that one through a couple times. Another thing I like to do is to take that area there, stick that into the chamber, and make sure the chamber is clean on the inside there. Just due to I had all that solvent on there, I'm gonna change out this patch. You shouldn't need any more than 3 patches to do this whole thing. Pinch upward and down. The way this patch works, you get a nice seal around the inside of the barrel, and it cleans very well. We're starting to get a little bit cleaner now. Now, you'll see that I have some different products up here. There is one product that we have. It's called CLP, which there's numerous manufacturers of it. The military grade CLPs, which CLP stands for Clean, Lubricate, and Preserve. The problem is when you have something that says CLP, it does all 3, but it does all 3 so-so. It doesn't. You can't have you don't have a dedicated cleaner, lubricant, and preservative. So what I choose is an actual solvent. This is G96 solvent. It's a heavy copper solvent. It's a heavy copper solvent designed for removing copper. You can smell it. You got a really heavy ammonia smell to it. Good reason for it. I use this on areas where I have a lot of carbon fouling, as well as inside the barrel to remove the copper jacket. Then I use what's called Croil. This is only used in the barrel. When you use a heavy solvent that has heavy ammonia, you want to deactivate it. This solvent is excellent because if you're using corrosive ammunition like in an AK, this will remove the corrosive salts out of the barrel and the metal. But then, because this is potent, you need to neutralize it with an oil, so it will not corrode the barrel, which is why I like Croil. The only thing I use Croil for is specifically neutralizing the barrel itself. I'll run this through twice, and not only will that neutralize all that solvent, it also put a nice film on the inside, which will last until I decide I want to shoot this gun again. just going to throw that in the chamber because I want the chamber to be nice and clean and lubricated. The barrel is done now. Now the last thing I want to do is I'm going to get a whole bunch of Q-tips and I want to clean inside the barrel extension. And that is something else you can use the all-purpose brush for. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my preservative, which is a G96 gun treatment. That's my preservative. I'll get that inside. I'll get some on the outside. Now this stuff I have used forever. This is an excellent preservative. Keeps guns from rusting. Even here in hot, humid southeast Texas, this stuff keeps my guns from rusting. I've been using it for years. It's a very popular product. There's a very unique smell to it as well. I think I said on a previous video that I've asked the owner of this company for many years to make a air freshener in this smell, but I can't get him to. It's too expensive. However, I do think he'd sell enough to make it worth his while. And you can also notice that the barrel is very dry because we burned all the oil off when we shot it. So we put that on there as well. Move that around on there. Get it on the muzzle brake. And then I have, this is actually a G96 silicone cloth, which puts the lubricants on there as well and all the films. So what that does is it allows me to clean the entire and put a preservative coating on all the aluminum. I can put that on the scope as well. So reinsert the charging handle. Bolt carrier. Okay, first thing we want to do is a function check on it. So we'll place it on safe, pull the trigger, nothing should happen. Put it on fire, fires, holding it to the rear, release, hear it click, fire again, hear it click. Every time you actually clean a firearm, take it apart and put it back together, it's always a good idea to do a function check on it. But this is basically how I clean these rifles. The Msr Ar Kit, as you see, has every single thing that you would possibly need to clean this family of rifles. They have them in both AR15, 5.56, as well as 7.62 millimeter for the AR10 type rifles. There's also a specific kit for the 300 blackout that includes a 300 blackout chamber brush, which is pretty awesome as well. There's also a 6.8 SBC that has a 6.8 caliber chamber brush. The Msr Ar has everything that you saw me use, with the exception of the bronze AP brush and the and where is it? There. And the Ripcord. Those are something that you would actually buy separately. Again, I only use these at the range. These are come in several different calibers. You have 30 caliber, you have 38 caliber, 9mm, you have, there's several that match up to 12 gauge as well. But the Msr Ar Kit is undoubtedly, it's the best kit there is. It's got everything. It's well worth the money. Looking at these products, I mean, you can have different, you may like a different kind of lubricant or different kind of oil or whatever, that's up to you, what you like to use. This is what I prefer. As you see, I don't have any one manufacturer that I have any kind of loyalty to. It's, I got some G96 products here. I got, Croyle. Actually, most of these are G96 products. The CLP that I have here, the reason why I actually like that is they call it the Mobile One of CLPs. It's actually synthetic. It's all synthetic. It is the current U.S. military issue CLP. It's the latest revision E. Now, the revisions prior to this were absolute garbage. The break freeze, they had the Teflon in it. The Teflon, when it dries up, it actually leaves a film sticky film on the metal, which has caused the U.S. government a lot of nightmares and a lot of other people as well, because you got to have a degreaser to try to scrub that off. I had seen in one case where some guns were soaked in this. They went to take them out of long-term storage, and they had bolts and disconnectors and everything that was all stuck together that they couldn't move. It was welded together from the Teflon. The other thing about the original CLPs pre-revision E was you couldn't use them in the Arctic. You had to go back to the old LAW or lubricant Arctic weapons. So you didn't have basically one that did it all. Well, with the new revision, this will go to Arctic as well as high temperature. Also, what this has in it that's unique versus any of the other manufacturers is when the original request came out for the new revision for the CLP, they had a requirement in there for anti-corrosion salts. Again, for dealing with corrosive repellents. Well, the other manufacturers who were submitting for this could not duplicate that, so they removed it from the requirements so there could be a second or a third source for it. However, the original formulation that the G96 used with that formula in it for the corrosion resistance is still in there. So this is something that the other CLPs that are manufactured, even for the U.S. government, don't do. This does not burn off nearly as quickly as regular CLP. It lasts a lot longer. In fact, you have to get the gun pretty hot for it to burn this stuff off. So for as far as CLPs are concerned, there is no other CLP that I use, and it's for that reason. I was in the military in the early 90s, and we had the break free, and it was complete garbage. We had a lot of problems with it. You had to shake it. You should have to shake up a lubricant either, because basically it separates. It separates there, it's going to separate on the gun as well. None of that's required with the G96. Copper solvents, again, this is G96 as well. However, any copper solvent works just fine. There's not really what I consider a bad copper solvents. The thing you always have to make sure that you understand with copper solvents is if they have a high ammonia content in them, you got to deactivate them. Meaning after it goes in the barrel, you got to get some oil down there to deactivate it. Again, with the G96 gun treatment, every gun that I have in gun shops I've worked at, and even several manufacturers, for instance, Colts Manufacturing, when they manufacture pistols, they spray it down with this. It's a really good preservative. I have several cans laying around here that anytime I pick up one of the guns or whatever, I spray them down to make sure that they don't rust. And again, the Croil, this is mostly used by gunsmiths for rusted, trying to get rusted parts out. But I found that it works very good for actually deactivating those heavy solvents. And I'm a creature of habit. I find something that works, I pretty much stick with it. But that's really the justifications of why I use what I do. Certainly if you have any questions, please put it down in the comments, and I'll try and get back to you if I can to answer any of your questions. But this is not the only way to do it. Please make sure you understand that. This is just what my personal preference is. Weapons maintenance is something I take very seriously. I train soldiers and police throughout the world on weapons maintenance. And seeing the conditions of a lot of weapons throughout the world that are in such poor condition just because of lack of normal routine maintenance. The guns are wearing out early, they're corroding. So, if you're going to go out and you're going to spend a lot of money on a rifle, you definitely want to take care of it. There's a lot of excellent products out there. These are not the only products. These are just the ones that I feel are the best. And again, if you have any questions about any of the products, please feel free to put a comment down, and I'll try and get to you. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Please click like and please subscribe.